Hi, my name is John Whitehead and I'm an executive and leadership coach, and welcome to this week's video blog post. This past week, I had an opportunity to facilitate a couple of workshops on goal setting and time management for a nonprofit organization. And one of the pieces that came up in the conversation, and maybe I should step back here for a second and just say that when I facilitate a workshop, I facilitate. In other words, I do not like being that individual that's at the front, just being the talking head. I want to make sure people get involved in the workshop, either in small groups or in the larger group, doing activities, standing up, moving around. I find that it makes it fun, it makes the time goes a lot faster, and people get a lot more engaged. Also, once we've done an activity or an exercise, I will open it up for discussion. And often some of the best parts in these workshops is not what happens in the structured format, but what comes out in the conversations. One of the pieces that I use is my training as a coach, in that if somebody asks a question or makes a comment, I'll replace it or rephrase it as a question, or I'll throw it out to the whole group. So if somebody asks me, John, what do you think? I'll say, well, the wisdom's actually in the room here. What do other people think? And often enough, we will get a really good conversation or dialogue going around that. This is what happened in this past workshops that I was delivering this past week. And in one of the pieces that people talked about was procrastination. And in my workshop, it's just a tiny piece, but in the session that I had, it became this huge piece. And the people weren't talking about procrastination. And what I found was, well, one of the exercises, I asked people to break into small groups and write the causes for procrastination. What are the causes? And I said, you know, you just brainstorm the ideas. And as one person said, because I can, and everybody had a great laugh about it. But often enough, one of the pieces that came out was from more than one person was the size of their lists, that they feel so overwhelmed with everything that they need to do, especially if you're in a nonprofit organization, right? Because everything is crowded in on you. I'm sure you find that in regular business world too, but the nonprofits, it seems to be particularly a challenge. I think mostly because there is such a financial crunch, and with donors and grants, and they never seem to go far enough. So this piling of lists, this piling of responsibilities that people have, of activities they needed to do, was just becoming such a challenge for many of them that they were just avoiding it. They were putting things off. So, you know, we talked about some of the standard things about how to take these large pieces and break them into smaller chunks. We use the rocks, pebbles, sand in a jar illustration to illustrate how if we start with the bigger things first, and the big hairy things first, the scariest things first, we can get over that hump and then deal with some of the smaller issues. We used Brian Tracy's example of eating the frog, right? About how if you've got that big ugly frog, eat that first. And of course, his second, he's got two rules of frog eating, right? The first one is if you have two frogs, eat the ugliest one first. And the second rule of frog eating is if you do have a frog to eat, it doesn't make much sense to stare at it for very long. Just get it over with. We also talked about something that's called the Eisenhower principle, which Stephen Covey reintroduced in his 7 Habits book. And this is where you take your tasks, your tasks and challenges that you have, and you break them down into 4 areas. And the first area is, imagine a quadrant, right? You have a quadrant. In the top right-hand corner, you would have urgent and important. In the top left-hand corner, you would have important but not urgent. In the bottom right-hand corner, you might have not urgent and not important, and in the left corner, urgent but not important. right? So you have urgent and important, you have important but not urgent, you have urgent but not important, and you have not urgent and not important. And take the pile of tasks and break them into those boxes. And you might quickly find that the ones that are in the not urgent, not important, you may ask yourself, why am I even doing those? Why are they even there? You may look at it, some of these in the urgent but not important piece and say, okay, is that something I can delegate? It's urgent, but it's not that and not important. Can I delegate that? And can I give that to somebody else? One of the other pieces that came out of the conversation with these managers in this organization was talk to other people. Talk to other people within the organization. In many organizations, and this one was not unusual, they work in groups. They tend to work in silos. They don't have an opportunity to move outside their silo and talk to other people in the organization. And one of the learnings that came out of this workshop was that there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of knowledge. They were able to talk to individuals that they don't usually have an opportunity to talk to in the day-to-day setting. And they were finding they were getting some really good ideas, because after they marked the causes for procrastination, they got on this, got to right beside it solutions. And what they found was a co-worker, a colleague that they really didn't have a daily interaction with, had a solution that worked for that. So there's a couple of lessons here. Get out, talk to people in your organization. Take a look at your list. Are you finding the stuff that's just not getting done? Is that something that could be deleted? Why should it even be there at all? Eat those frogs first. Tackle those big items first. So that's this week's video blog post. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you have comments or suggestions, please add them to the bottom of this video blog post. And if you'd like to learn more, please go to my website and check me out at johnkWhitehead.ca. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great week.